Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone. It's time for another, that's loud, NFA Money Talk Live. Welcome to the show today, everyone. Whether you're watching it live or later, you know that we're here to have a deep dive conversation with entrepreneurs who have been there and done that, or on their way to bigger and bigger things. And we're bringing you tips every time we're here to help you be more successful in business. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm known as the money healer. And the reason for that is because I like to help you get inside your own mindset BS around money, break it down, overcome it so that you can be really successful in your business. So that's really the topics that I bring to the table. And today we have an awesome guest on who has an incredible story. 4 kids and lots of money ups and downs that she's going to share, and just closed on her house, like really, really cool success through her business and changing her money mindset. And so we're going to dive into that stuff. Let's start with a juicy question. Let's ask for now, Dorothy, what is the money block right now currently that you feel like you're breaking through? What's like something that still freaks you out a little bit about money, something that you're breaking through?
I have an advisor who, for like investments and things like that. And she had told me not that long ago that I had too much, like just liquid cash. Not that I had a lot, trust me, but I had too much not invested other places. And ended up investing that in my house. But I still struggle with, I feel like I need to have a really big nest egg sitting there, because I went through such a long time where I was less than paycheck to paycheck. It was brutal. And so now, even though I know I have enough sitting in the bank, like not having that bigger account, I struggle with all the time. And I have to keep reminding myself the bucket will refill. But yeah, it's hard. That is hard.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say this, because I think that, you and I having a similar money backgrounds, like, how I was on food stamps and with 3 kids, and, that real serious feeling of survival stress all the time. And so it causes that belief like, oh, money is scarce and it might go away. And I see this with people who have that survival mode stress, and also people who have a lot of money. We all get these money blocks installed in different ways. What do you do when you notice that coming up?
I, I count on my significant other telling me the bucket we will refill. And then he reminds me of all the successes that I've had in the last 7 or 8 years, and the dips that I've had. And I've come back 100% every single time, right? Because I'm sitting here right now and I've lived every day of my life so far. So I just have to like really take myself for a walk, you know, and actually really talk myself through, you're going to refill the bucket. You're going to refill. I say it out loud while I'm walking. People are just like, what bucket is she talking about? And why is she refilling it?
I love it. People are like, is she crazy? You're like, no, I'm just doing some money alignment over here.
Yep. Yep.
I appreciate you saying that, because I think it's something that we all go through. One thing I've noticed in my business similarly, and in my money trajectory, is the same thing. It's like I can't say it's feast or famine anymore in the same way as it used to be, but there is this, as you're scaling your business, there's investments that go in and pivots that get made that cause income to decrease before it increases. And so, like, I'm in that moment right now in my business where I'm like, ooh, I've made some big decisions to do things very differently than I've done in the past. And I've intentionally decided to cut things off, which has decreased income. And then I'm delegating differently and putting in way more money into delegation. And I'm like, oh, is it going to is it going to pop? Is it going to go again? So there's that subconscious fear, like, oh shit, what if it doesn't grow again? What if, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, 2 of my kids are in college and living away from home. So I've got their rents and my mortgage. And I just invested a lot in marketing. And of course, when you invest in marketing, you get the hit first, and then you go from these gonna, result in revenue. And I haven't done this kind of marketing expense before, so it is scary for me. I am like, why
Yeah.
did I do this right now? But I know I have to, because my business won't move forward the way I want it to unless I make these investments. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't just happen because I'm sitting at my desk going, please send me more money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it? And that's something I love about NFA Money Talks, is us being transparent with people and going like, "Hey, we go through this too." And And, I think sometimes people think I've got like this mindset where I never have anything negative come up. And it's like, no, of course, negative stuff comes up. It's just that I know how to deal with it differently. And when it's those big, deep, scary wounds, the things that are like layered in us, it's going to come up time and time again until it gets completely cleared out. And then you're going to face a different one. I'm curious for you, like, is this been a kind of ongoing one? For me, it has. This is probably my biggest money block as well. It's very similar to yours. It's like, will there be enough? Like, as I get more and more successful, like, will there be enough? Like, is this downturn the last downturn and it's going to keep going down? And so, yeah.
Exactly, all the time. Or if you have like a churn in clients, and you're like, okay, if I lose this client, I will never, ever, ever get another one ever again. Well, I know that's not true, but I have to actually talk myself through that because I feel
Yes.
like it is true. I feel like if I lose one client, I'm going out of business. That's it. I'm done.
Yes.
My mind automatically goes to that. You suck and that's it. Everybody's going to leave you and you're never. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to this is powerful. So let's give some tips to people watching and listening wherever you are. What do you do in these moments? And well, let's riff off each other a little bit because I think this is something that's really powerful for every entrepreneur I think I've ever met.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the financial person in me, the CFO person in me says to make sure you have enough in that business nest egg or your personal nest egg or whatever to cover a slight downturn should it happen. Like, don't just
Yeah.
go into it like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend every last dime I have and fingers crossed it all comes in before my next, rent payment is due. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
having that nest egg and being able to rely on it a little bit,
Yeah.
I have to remind myself I can rely on it a little bit and then just build it back up. But it's also don't forget to refill that cup after you're done.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Will you share, like, to you? I'm putting these up. There we go. So we're talking about having a nest egg in order to not trigger that survival mode threat fear that just freezes you. And also because, as a would you call yourself a financial advisor?
No, I'm kind of a small business strategist. I'm a fractional
Okay.
CFO. So
Okay.
I don't, yeah.
Okay. So in those ways, thinking about how to plan in a savvy, financially responsible way, it's have a nest egg. What's the amount of nest egg that you recommend so it doesn't cause problems in business growth?
I like 6 months. It
Okay.
sounds like a lot, but that gives you the ability to, I mean, people say 3 to 6 months, but 3 months goes by really, really fast,
Yeah.
and the ability to upswing a downturn in 3 months, especially in the economy that we've been living in for the last few years, is really hard. To turn it around in 6 months is a little more reasonable and gives you that, like, okay, I got a little bit of time to make this happen. Because everybody's revenue cycle is different. I might meet somebody today and they might not engage with me, for another, like, oh, I'll get with you by the end of the year. Okay, that's 6 months from now, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's how long your revenue cycle is, and then just having that 6 months in there so that you can take a breath and not freak.
Okay. And so when you're in that moment of, okay, I've been spending a little bit more, I'm starting to scale my business, and you're talking yourself through these fears, partly I'm sure you remind yourself, like, I've got a nest egg. So I've got that nest egg. It'll happen again. I'm giving you tips here, everyone, because we both go through this. So I do the same thing. I always have a nest egg. Sometimes it dwindles down, I'd say between 3 and 6 months, depending on what I'm investing in my business, and always reinvesting in my business. And there's like that spot where I start to get uncomfortable, where I'm like, ooh, this is getting too close for my comfort, and then I go, like, gotta build that nest egg back up, because exactly what you're saying. It's really, really powerful to make sure that you're keeping your mindset on track and not getting that intense fear triggered. Is there anything else? So it sounds like you do alignment. Partner support is awesome. If you have a partner, someone in your life to advocate for you. Anything else you can think of?
Those are my big ones. I'm trying to
Okay.
think if there's anything else that I do. I beg for my, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think it's these things that are the really practical things that often we don't talk about on shows like this, or we get a lot of advice about how to build strategy around a business, and it's like, well, some of this stuff underneath those layers is big stuff that will keep you really stuck from scaling if you let it take over your fears. Fear, I always tell people, it's like you've got fear and doubt and uncertainty, or you've got like inspiration and joy and love. If you're in fear, you can't be in certainty and joy and inspiration. And if you're in joy and inspiration, you can't be in fear and uncertainty. So one of the biggest contributors to people feeling freaked out in their business is that fear piece, which then pushes money away and causes it to take longer to grow. And so, thinking about like, okay, we got to get aligned, having that nest egg and building it over time. Let's say you're just, in the beginning phases of a business or pre-six figure, you want to just be putting a little bit of money away every month and making sure you're building up that nest egg over time so that you don't.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, to bring it back to that point, to like just starting, I mean, I make a very regular habit of taking anywhere between 5 and 10% of my revenues every month, and it goes immediately into another account out of my operating account. I have one for taxes. I have one for just that nest egg piece. And every month it's not even like I have to do it. It's an automatic transfer out of my one account to the other two. So I don't even think about it, and it just goes. And that has saved me at tax time. It has saved me when I was, trying to come up with this down payment for the house. I'm like, where am I going to get that?
Yeah.
Oh, for the last 8 years, I've been doing that. Oh my God, I can use that now. But it's really important to take it out of your operating account and immediately put it somewhere else that you're not looking all the time, because then it can start to grow and you're not like, oh, I'm going to take this I'm going to borrow, I'm going to use it. Oh, I meant to, whatever.
Yeah.
It's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, it's such a powerful strategy. It's how I built my savings and started investing, and then did the same thing in my business similarly. And it was like, your brain doesn't miss the 5 to 10%. If you're trying to do 50%, it'll notice it. If you do 5 to 10 and then just keep upping that over time, it's a really great strategy, just like you're saying, and take it out of that operating account, because then it doesn't even really know it's there. And you're not noticing the missing of it, but then you subconsciously know, I've got this, I call it a money magnet account. Like the nest egg is the money magnet account. And so you're magnetizing money to you through the security of having some, so you're not freaking out. So awesome tips. Okay. Will you go back and share some of your story, how you got into business? And I know you have a really amazing story. So, share with everyone here your money story and your business journey.
Yeah. So I had no intention of being an entrepreneur at all, ever in my life. I don't come from a long line of them. I was not surrounded by them. In fact, the only entrepreneurs that I knew in my own circle were my former in-laws, and they did not really do it really well. And so there was a lot of fear there for me of thinking, okay, if I do this, I'm going to end up like that, not managing my money really well. But I found myself divorced, and I left that divorce with zero. I should say I had $2,000. I won't say zero. I won't exaggerate, but that's it. And no financial support, no alimony, no child support, none of that. Sometimes I talk to other, single, moms, and they've got like an alimony coming in every month. Nothing, none of that. And originally I had worked for a company that was virtual because I had 4 sons. I still have 4 sons. They didn't go away. And I had to be around for them in some respects, especially when they were starting to enter at that point, like starting to get to teenage years, right? And the first company that I worked for right after that was virtual. So I worked from home. It was fantastic. And then they laid me off because they ran out of money. And I was like, oh, I can't. I used to commute an hour and a half each way to DC every day. And I'm like, I can't leave at 7:00 in the morning and come home at 7 or 7:30 at night with these 4 kids who are walking back and forth to school, who are, they were between, they're 15 to 20 now. So push this back 6 years, and, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just have to give it a whirl. I don't know. And I've never done this, on my own before. So I started with bookkeeping, and I was a CFO for a company. I come from like major corporate, CBS, Fox, NBC. Like I had these major jobs along the way. I was like, I'm going to do bookkeeping. And so I went on like Upwork, and I got a bookkeeping job. And then I got another one where I was a controller, like shortly thereafter, like about a month and a half later. And then those two people started realizing what my capabilities were. And so they told a couple of people. And then it kind of within the next year, I mean, that first year I was making like a third of what I had been previously. And it was, one of those times when I had to like sit my kids down. And I did. I mean, my parents never had this conversation with me, right? Like, this is what we have coming in and going out. And I did. I was totally open book with them. This is what I've got coming in, you guys. It's going to suck for a while. And I remember that first like Christmas, I was like, yeah, well, we're going to have a lot of like cinnamon rolls and look at the big breakfast I made and all that. And, but they were amazing with it. And I think that has made them more fiscally responsible, fingers crossed. But it took a couple of years for it to really start to get going to a place where I was at least back to my normal compensation that I had been getting as an employee. But it took like a good 2 to 3 years to get there. And then I started taking off, where now I'm in a much better place than I was as an employee at any point in time. But it was really, really hard. And we just, we didn't do without. It wasn't like I was, really doing really poorly, but we certainly didn't go get new stuff all the time or order DoorDash twice a week or whatever. It was,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in that, I appreciate that you sat your kids down and had that conversation. I'm so curious, like, so going bookkeeping single mom with 4 kids. Now I know you're married.
No.
And, oh, you're not. Oh, you just bought your house. Oh, I don't think I knew that. Oh, wow. Okay. So still single mama, 4 kids, 2 older, 2 still in the house.
Actually, yeah, 2, 1 is out. 1 will be out next month, and then 2 are still here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but massive shifts for you, going from $2,000 in the bank, starting your own business, and now buying a house. Wow. And paying for kids in college and all the big things.
I don't, yeah, that was, don't even get me started on that, but
yeah. Paying for their rent, you said, at least.
We're paying for a lot of things.
I get it.
But yeah, I mean, even the house itself, like I still can't believe, I mean, I closed the end of last month and I'm still like, oh my God, this is my house. I cannot believe that I did that. I've owned homes before, but with a spouse. So this is the first time I did it like completely on my own. And it's like, holy crap.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's huge.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's amazing. I bought a house a couple months ago with my partner, and we for me, it was this thing of like, I haven't owned a house in a long, long time. The last house I owned foreclosed. Most of my people don't even know this is like a whole nother life I had with my ex-husband who, he had a business and I was the bookkeeper for the business. And he's a brilliant guy in what he does, but not at building businesses necessarily. And so, we had a lot of ups and downs and ended up going bankrupt, foreclosing on our house. And so I haven't owned a house since. And that was, 15 years ago. And so I just bought a house and it's like, yes, this is a big deal. It's very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say it was funny too, because my partner now is big into the mortgage industry. And so he kind of walked me through all this stuff. And because I was like, last time I did this, I got totally screwed. Last time I did this, we did it all wrong last time. And he's like, we, now it's you, it's different, right? Yeah. It's not the two of you. You're making all the decisions. And I also realized going through all that the way I was freaking out about what did the mortgage papers do? Was a promissory note mean? What are these taxes? What is this closing statement? Oh my God, I don't know. That's how a lot of people feel about their financials, their business financials. And I had this epiphany of like, oh, because I do work with my clients and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And they're freaking out. We're all good, just working away. It was the first time that I really felt that emotion of, I don't understand this. And I'm a finance person, right? And I still, because it was the words, it was the what's due, when, and who, and all that. And it was the first time that I really could get in touch with the emotion that people, business owners, especially the ones that I deal with who are creatives, feel about money and finances. And it was, I feel like that the universe sent me this just so that I'd be like, got it. Okay.
That's brilliant. Right. Because we take for granted what we know and we think everyone else knows it. And then when you're thrown into something new, it's like, we all feel like newborns when we're doing something new. There's a huge learning curve, right? And money
Yeah.
to me, I mean, it's why I love talking about money, because money freaks people out, and understandably so, because it's our survival threat that kicks in. And it's, for you, that's an amazing gift to be able to go, okay, wait, I need to break this down differently for business owners. And I like that you said, you work with creatives, because creatives often have like these huge hearts and they want to do big things in the world and they do all kinds of cool businesses, but that doesn't mean they know how to run a business. I'd say that was my ex-husband, like brilliant minded guy. Business was just a challenging thing. And then, yeah, that's a whole nother topic for a different relationship show. But it's like interesting when you're integrating and partnering with people and partnering with your clients and building a business, and you have this mindset around, I want a successful business and I love what I'm doing. And then there's this whole money piece. So will you share, this is a great place to go to, from that perspective of building a successful business, could you give 3 tips to get to 6 figures faster? So, and share on that journey first, like who do you work with? And then we'll get to the tips. Like you're working with creatives, business
I'm working
owners.
with, I work almost entirely with, except for like a couple small exceptions, women-owned businesses in the creative field. So creative agencies, I've been focusing a lot lately on social impact. So, and which is more to your point, women who have got big hearts and want to do everything for everyone. And, they're the last person to get paid in their business, frankly. I've seen, where they have like a whole staff of decently, if not well paid people. And then you look at, well, you're not on payroll. How, oh, I take a draw or whenever I can,
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, no, you're the most important person in this, whole thing. So you need to be the one getting paid.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and it's interesting because they're a lot more collaborative, and they'll listen more than a lot of the guys that I have worked with in the past, where they're like, no, just do my numbers and let me know what's going on. They're
Yeah.
actually really interested in how can I do this better.
Yeah.
um
Well, I think there's this really powerful move of financial empowerment for women, right? It's like, how can I be
yes.
financially savvy myself and not like there's nothing wrong with being interdependent with a partner. And also, I choose to be financially independent where I know exactly what's going on in my business and in my money world, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Differently with
Absolutely.
men and women. I think men and women are differently coachable in these ways. Do you think that, have you found that to be true? It sounds like what you were saying.
I think so. I feel like women are more eager to like get the knowledge and absorb it and utilize it. Like there's a whole process where they're like, okay, got it. Okay, now I'm going to use it. Where guys seem to be more, if they can use it right now, okay, you can show me concrete evidence. I should do this, do that. Great, let's do it. If it's more of like a, soft, have to process this whole kind of strategy through, it doesn't seem to flow as easily. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
just be the ones I have.
True. Yeah. I mean, we're generalizing some here. I think it's interesting always to look at patterns and the differences in gender dynamics in running businesses. Okay. So go ahead and give us 3 tips. So this would be tips to help. And of course, using your area of expertise, 3 tips to get to 6 figures faster in your business.
Sell. No, just kidding.
Sell your business.
No. Sell, whatever it
Oh,
is
sell,
you're
sell.
doing.
Any, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Sell,
No,
sell, sell.
I'm always a huge proponent of having, if people don't like the word budgets and all forecasts and projections and all that, because they're like, oh God, it was on a page, whatever. But I think it's really important to have a budget, or from your budget you can build, and I'll explain the difference between a forecast and all that. But if you have a budget, you have a plan, right? It's like a
Hmm.
roadmap. I always explain this, like if we were going to drive from here to California tomorrow, I wouldn't just get in my car and just be like, oh, which way's the sun? I guess I'm going west. I don't know. I would have a plan of, I'm going to take this road to this road to that road, and then, going to stop this night, that night. I use this example because I just drove cross country with my son not that long ago. But that's exactly what I did, right? I used the same kind of mentality of, this is where I want to be by this point in time, right? So the first day we got to Nashville, second day was Oklahoma, third day, whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing with your business plan. By end of Q1, I want to be here. By end of Q2, here, end of Q3, there, however you want to break that up. And instead of what road do you take, it's how much revenue do I need?
Hmm.
And to figure out how much revenue you need, figure out what your expenses are. And the hard thing about really first starting with this is that you're like, well, it's a brand new business. I have no expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you're also not working at your job anymore, or maybe reducing the job that you had to give this, more attention. So think about the expenses that you had that your employee pay covered, right? Was it your rent or your car payment or whatever? Those are now your operating expenses in your business, because you're
Mm-hmm.
going to want your business to cover that for you so you can leave that other job, or if you have left that other job, you've got to pay for these things. And once you come up with those, that's what we kind of normally call like that would be your wages, right? Whatever I want this to cover, my rent, my car, my electricity, my, food, whatever it is, add all those up, and that's what your wage would be for the month. And then you need your revenue to cover that plus some, right? And you
Yeah.
want that we call it the delta, but the difference between your revenue and your expenses, you want that to grow bigger. More revenue, expenses stay the same so that you get bigger profit as you go. Because that way you can start investing back in your business. You can start hiring somebody. You can do whatever you need to do to help your business grow. So that's tip number one, is have that roadmap in place so you know where you're going. If you don't get there, figure out what you have to change to get back
Yeah.
on track. Or
Yeah.
what if you're taking this road and it's closed? Figure out another route.
Yeah.
Right.
The interesting thing you're saying is that it's critical to have the budget and the plan, because you can't get where you want to go if you don't know where you are. And it's like a tracking device, right? So it sets your intention for the future direction. And then you also go like, okay, did I meet that? And if I didn't, what do I need to adjust in order to meet it next quarter? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
When is a good time to start this? Like you're saying, because I heard you say before people start a business, they go, well, I don't have any expenses yet, but really they do, because their houses or their overhead, whatever they're replacing from their income. So would you say start this budgeting plan immediately when people start a business and then revamp
Yes.
it every quarter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many of us, myself included, just start off and I'm going to do this, right? And then you're like, oh, shoot, that is not enough to cover what I needed to, oh God, what am I going to do now? If I, me, myself included, if I had sat there from the beginning and said, this is what I need to cover. Okay. I mean, I did that after first month when I realized, oh shit, this isn't going to work. And then I got, more clients, but you have to have that plan in place so you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's super otherwise you're just like flapping around like a crazy bird, and who
Yeah.
knows, how you're going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Great. Very practical tip that is essential and critical, that I think a lot of, like you're saying, flapping around going, it's like, it's almost like deer in the headlights. I think people get starting a business and there's so many things, just like you were saying, when you buy a house and there's all these unknown, even the lingo is unknown. You jump into entrepreneurship and you think, oh, I love the thing that I am wanting to jump into business for, but then you forget there's the part of business that matters. So it's like I always tell people there's 3 hats you wear as an entrepreneur. It's like your area of expertise is one hat, and then there's the marketing part, which is another hat, and then there's the business operation part, that's another hat. And
Yep.
over time you can delegate some of those things, but like at first you got to figure that stuff out, because your budget is really your business plan, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah.
Very
And
smart.
the thing is too that I often see, business owners who will get to that point where they're like, okay, I'm just going to, delegate this out. But then they lose touch with that piece, because they're
Yeah.
relying on someone else to do it and they have no idea where they're at. They look in the bank in the morning and they go, okay, yeah, I've got X dollars in the bank, but they don't realize that payroll is drawing today. So they really don't have X, they have Y, and they and if that person that they are relying on leaves or something, then they're like, oh no, I have no idea. I mean, you as a business owner should know more about your business than any other person on the face of the planet. And that
Yeah.
includes all the business operations stuff too. You don't have to know what to debit and what to credit and all that kind of stuff, but you need to know what your revenues are, what your expenses are, what looks normal, what doesn't look normal. Look at things. Well, I guess that could be tip number 2. Always look at things on a monthly basis so you can tell if something's going way up, way down. If your expenses go way down, holy cow, did I forget to pay something this month?
Yeah.
We've all caught that where you're like, oh, wow, I have a lot of money in the bank. Oh, shoot, I didn't pay for my car payment or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So always look at your trends on a month to month basis. So you can see like your financial trends. So you can see where things are going way up or way down, or if they're just staying the course.
Yeah. Would you say when you're looking at those numbers, what are the most critical numbers to be looking at? Would you be looking, what do you have any insight there?
It depends on your kind of business. If you have a business where you are making something, so you have your revenue and then you have your cost of goods for what it took to produce that, you're always going to want to look at your gross margin, which is the difference between those two, to make sure that, the things you're buying, your raw materials are not going up in price by a lot and you haven't adjusted your revenue. So that
Mm-hmm.
gross margin, if you're a service-based organization, then, just looking at top line revenue, looking at expenses, just as a general, and then maybe, some key, like, whatever your biggest top 3 expenses are every month, just take a look at those and make sure that they're where you think they should be.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about it too as ROI. Like you're always looking at, is the money that I'm investing in bringing me a return on my investment? Otherwise, I think a lot of entrepreneurs waste a lot of money, especially at the beginning
They
of
do.
business. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you
It's
say are
hard to
some,
figure that out though, because especially when it's like, oh, I'm going to do this, like spend all this money on this, whatever marketing or social media manager or whatever the heck it is. And you're like, I got nothing out of that.
yeah,
And it takes a while for you to realize I got nothing out of that. And then it's sometimes really hard to pull back from it because it's a decision that you made and you're like, well, I got to
yeah,
stick to it because you got to know when
yeah.
to cut bait. Yeah.
Yeah. What that's a great tip. What are some, when you're looking at your numbers and you're realizing you invested in something, I think of this as sunk cost fallacy, where you go, I already invested money, so I got to keep investing money in this thing, even though it's not actually working. When do you know to cut and run? Like what would you advise people on there?
I don't know. I wouldn't go more than like 3 months on something
Okay.
unless
Yeah.
that, no, I have to build this up. It's a year-long process or something like that. But if it's, just regular run of the mill, I would not invest in something for more than, I mean,
Yeah.
I've made that mistake too. I had a social media manager a while back and I had her for like 6 or 7 months before I realized that like,
This is
this is not working. And I look back at how much I spent and I was like, God, what an idiot. Like I'm an idiot, right? So we all do it. But
yeah.
if I had
Yeah.
just taken
For
my own
sure.
advice and looked at it 3 months in, I would have been
Yeah.
like, I'm not
Well,
feeling like this
and
is working.
what you're saying here that's so important for everyone to take away is that if you're looking at your numbers on a monthly basis, you are building a relationship with your business and your money. And then you would know, okay, I'm in month 1, haven't yielded anything from this yet. Month 2, month 3, you're going like, hey, something either needs to change with the strategy and the marketing, or the marketing needs to go away, or this aspect. I think too, we waste a lot of money sometimes doing things we were told we should do, and
Yeah.
too many things. I always share with people, narrow your focus to expand your freedom. And it's like, so we tend to focus on way too much. And it's like a scattered energy that gets put out there. And so if you can narrow it and make something really highly successful in a few small areas, even the idea of like, oh, you don't necessarily need to be on every single social media platform. Choose one, get
Right.
really good at that, grow that, and then add on. And so it's this, I think there's this day and age, we have so many options. And so you got to get really strategic about your use of time. And part of what Dorothy is recommending here, looking at your numbers, helps you do that. That's why I think tracking is so important. And it's kind of boring. It feels boring when you're doing it. You're like, oh, really? I got to track my numbers. And I think people are scared of it a little bit too.
Yeah. But when you do find something, then you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
would have known that if I hadn't looked at it. But you're right. I mean, I think so many people, I myself am guilty of this, when your balances are really low in your bank account, you don't want to look because it's
Yeah.
embarrassing to you as a person, or you're afraid because you're like, oh God. And I think the same thing applies when you're a new business where you don't want to look because you're like, but you really need to, because the other benefit you get out of it is when you do grow and things do take off, you get to look back at it and go, I remember when.
Yeah.
I remember when my bank balance was $1,000 or whatever,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's a 50 or something, or 10. Celebrate the wins where you can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go for tip number 3. What do you have for us for tip number 3?
Always build in profit. So this is a profit first thing. I used to do profit first all the time. I don't now because there's too many bank accounts that they want you to have open. But when I was talking about earlier how I take that 5 to 10% and I put it away. But the other piece of that is the formula that they have in that is you learn in business school or accounting class or whatever, sales minus expenses equals profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the standard business thing. But if you flip it just a little bit and do sales minus profit equals expenses, it changes your mindset to go, I've got my sales, but I'm going to carve out what I want my bottom line to be first. And then
Mm-hmm.
everything left over, I get to spend on expenses. So if
Love
you're
that.
$10,000 a month and you want 5, well, guess what? You have 5 to spend. You don't have 7,500 to spend. You don't have 8 to spend. You have 5. And I
Yeah.
think it puts you in that spot where you automatically kind of like narrowing your focus, right? Opens
Yeah.
up your freedom. So you narrow your focus to I only have this much money because the rest of it, that's my profit. And when you
Yeah.
take it off right off the bat, it makes that so much easier than defaulting to what your profit could be.
Yeah. Well, what I hear you saying here that's so powerful is it's pay yourself first, which,
Yeah.
earlier we were talking about how your people would go, oh, maybe I'll do an owner's draw if there's money left over. Well, if you're not making money in your business, then it's not really a business that's going to be sustainable for the long term. And you're going to end up burning yourself out because you're not paying yourself a salary. And so it's really important that profit piece to pay yourself first and how important it is to go like, this is something I've done in my business where I set myself up as an S corp and just started a salary and it was like, okay, I'm paying myself this bottom line salary to start with, and I'll just keep increasing it over time because like, what is the point of doing this business if I'm not paying myself?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, when you're doing an always build in profit model, how would you have people paying themselves and is it paying yourself plus investing in the business is what you would categorize as profit?
Yeah, I would even take you know, the paying yourself part out of it.
Oh,
The profit
interesting. Okay.
part that you're going to leave in the business, like the business is food, right? Your business has to eat. It can't sustain if it doesn't eat. So that profit is what is going to sustain your business over the course of time. So if you
Okay.
go back to that $10,000, if you had $10,000 in, revenue a month and you want 5 to be the profit, then out of that remaining 5,000, that has to include what you're paying yourself plus all your
Okay.
expenses.
Got it.
Because
Okay.
you want to separate out what you're paying yourself from what you're paying your business. Your business is its own entity, and you've
Okay.
got to
Got
keep
it.
that going.
I love that. So it's treating yourself as an employee of the business. Business is its own entity. So you're paying profit to the business and paying yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it
Awesome.
doesn't have to be like half, like 5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you
Yeah.
use like $1,000 a month or something, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Got it. So it's again building that nest egg that we talked about in the beginning.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. These are great practical tips. I appreciate these kind of tips where people can really walk away and go, okay, let's implement these right away. Will you share a book that you would highly recommend? One that's changed your life, one that you recommend to all people, let's say.
Yeah, I've got 2. They just sit on my desk all the
Oh,
time.
nice.
One of them is the Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Work Week,
Nice.
and the other one is Marie Forleo, Everything is Figure Outable.
Ah, I love her. Okay,
Because
I'm
both
putting
of
these in.
those have put things into perspective for me when I go a little off the rails.
Okay, and this is awesome. I haven't read the 4-Hour Work Week yet, but I oh, is that the right way to spell that? It is. I so appreciate Marie Forleo. She was one of my first women that I found. I mean, I think it was probably within the first month of building my business. I found her and I just devoured her stuff. She's so awesome. So would you say in terms of those 2 books, what would you say is a really powerful money confidence tip that they bring to the table?
Oh gosh, money tip out of those.
Or it could be
Well,
just your best money tip that you have.
my best money tip
Like a money
is
confidence, we want people to walk away with money confidence.
yeah, I mean, one of the one of the coolest things, and I did it recently, what you had just mentioned was, turning to an S corp and paying myself. And at that point, and I was 6 years into this, and I only did it this year, right? And it was at that moment that I felt like my business was really legit,
Mm.
because now it was separate from me, and now
Mm-hmm.
it was paying me, even though, like you said, it was like, it's just a whatever. But I felt like, for me to get that mindset of, this is a legitimate business and I'm an employee of it and whatever, that I had to do that. And, yeah, you make some tax savings and stuff like that along the way, which is great. But it really changed my mindset on it. And so my biggest tip probably would be, to, if you not at that point yet, but always to remember to pay yourself something, even if it's an owner's draw, because, and not just like, oh, I throw my personal expenses through my business card, not that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. Actually pay yourself,
Yeah.
take that draw and pay. And not just because it's, no, you need to separate business and personal and all that kind of stuff, but it just, the feeling that you get from the fact that your business is paying you is so different from, yeah, I took everybody out to dinner on my business credit card.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this tip. And, for those of you watching who don't, maybe some of you know what we're talking about, some of you don't. There's a wide spectrum of people watching this. So, we go, S Corp is a really powerful way. Yes, tax shelter and paying yourself, and you want to have a salary. And to me, that legitimizing your business part you're talking about, it's a mindset around, are you, I like to use the word entrepreneur. Are you just kind of like playing around and dabbling in a hobby? Or are you serious about building a business? And when you're serious about building a business, you're going to do things that legitimize your business. All the things we've talked about today, do those, right? So we're talking about,
Mhm.
Dorothy was saying tip number 1, we've got have a budget. This is having a business plan. Number 2, she said, look at your numbers on a monthly basis. If you think of any powerful business that you admire or think is successful, you would know that they have a business plan and they look at their numbers probably on a daily or weekly basis even, right? Like, let's look at a huge brand like Apple. They know what's going on in their numbers
Oh
exactly
gosh, yeah.
down to the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just cent, right? And then number 3, we're going to always build in profits. This is going with paying yourself and legitimizing your business through tip number 3, paying yourself. And so these go together so powerfully. And this is why on NFA Money Talks, I like to have people on who've been there and done it, because how many years have you been in business now?
6.
6. Okay. So you've been in the game for quite a while, and you've had lots of ups and downs, I'm sure, on that journey.
Of course.
And you've learned a lot. And now, it's like buying a house, and you have a legitimate business, and you're paying yourself a salary. I mean, these are things that we all need to be learning to do in our businesses, whether you're a man, a woman, no matter what kind of business you have. These are tips that are going to help you succeed in building a business that's built for the long term. And that's what we all want, right? Like, I love to teach entrepreneurs how to make money doing what they love and be successful doing it. And all of the tips that you've given today, Dorothy, in my mind, are really about building a powerful business relationship with your money. So we go like, how do we look at our money? How do we create a healthy relationship with our money? How do we make the business building process strategic? And these are it's almost like, for some reason, what you're saying is what's coming to my mind is it's like your daily shower. Like you've got to do like the daily habits in your business, right? Like, it's
That's true.
maybe not that
There's
glamorous to
maintenance. Yep,
talk
maintenance.
about, but you got to maintain these things, right? Because, like doing a budget isn't that glamorous. Most people don't really enjoy it, and it's
No.
essential. You got to do it,
Right,
right? Otherwise, you
right.
start to stink. That's hilarious. I don't know why that came to my mind, but that's what came to my mind. Okay. Will you share with people how they can find you?
Sure. There's my website, dkeast.com. I am on LinkedIn under Dorothy Kolb. I'm also on Instagram, dkeastassoc, and I'm even on TikTok. Yes, I'm
Ooh,
on TikTok.
interesting.
The Dorothy Kolb. Yep.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. And Dorothy also has a podcast called Oh Shit, What Now, which I love that name. It's so fun. So check her out in all of those awesome places. Be sure to watch the next video in this lineup. If you're watching this later on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of awesome NFA Money Talks. And I'm here every week bringing you value and sharing tips just like this different wide variety of topics from different entrepreneurs who have built 6-figure plus businesses to help you out on your business building journey. And you all know from me, go ahead and check out the NFA Money Formula. So this is 3 steps in a quick video, a cheat sheet. It's a strategy that helps you to it's a mindset switch strategy that actually helps you practically set yourself up and align yourself to make easier money in your business. Because just like Dorothy and I talked about at the beginning of this, you will run into mindset problems as you build a business. And so you got to get that aligned first and foremost every single day so that you can be successful in your business building journey. And I saw a comment coming in. Let's see. Oh, here's Zamba. Hello, Zamba. Thanks for being here. He says, I'm grateful for the talk today, Dorothy and Amanda. Didn't get to see much of it yet, but we'll review it later. Awesome. High fives. Thanks for being here. And thank you so much, Dorothy. It's been fun to have you on.
No, it was great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. All right, everyone. Until next time, NFA Money Making High Fives. I'll see you next Monday.